The signal wasn't a distress call. That was the first thing I told Captain Ostrich, and it was also the first thing that made him take me seriously. It's a shutdown broadcast, I said, pulling the waveform up on the secondary console so he could see it. Relay Station Verath. Taven Compact Architecture, pre-diaspora band. They're filing a decommission notice with their own Empire's logistics relay. I paused, because the next part was the part that mattered, but they filed it on Channel 11. Ostrich looked at me across the bridge of the *Ardent Margin Star. He was a quiet man, the captain. 11 years in the patrol service, and he'd learned that the moments worth paying attention to were the ones where his comms officer stopped finishing her sentences at normal speed. Channel 11, he said. Earth's old mutual aid frequency. Taven Compact Infrastructure and Earth's pre-expansion relay network share a side lobe on that band. It's in a treaty appendix from about 300 years ago. The Taven side probably doesn't know they're broadcasting on it. Nobody in their logistics chain flagged it because nobody monitors Channel 11 anymore. I let that sit for a second. We do. He looked at the waveform. A shutdown broadcast was a formality, a bureaucratic sign-off before a station's self-destruct sequence was authorized. Whatever was happening aboard Verath, it was already in motion. The Taven Compact's nearest fleet element was logged at 9 hours out. The station's own destruct window, reading from the broadcast timestamp, was 4 hours and change. How far are we? Ostrich said. Our 40 at current burn. 48 minutes if we push the drives. He didn't say anything for a moment. The *Ardent Margin* was a patrol frigate on a supply rotation. We were carrying medical equipment for an outpost station in the Varel corridor. Nobody had ordered us to go anywhere near Taven Compact space. Paler, he said, which was the name he used when he wanted me to understand that what I said next would be the deciding factor. Is there a person on that station? I checked the broadcast manifest. Shutdown protocols required a biological witness to the decommission sequence, a living keeper who verified each stage and signed the record. The Taven Compact was meticulous about its paperwork. 1, I said. Civilian archivist, technical grade. Name is Sevet Oren. She filed the witness acknowledgement herself 40 minutes ago. Ostrich was quiet for 3 seconds. Push the drives, he said. We raised Verath on comms at the 40-minute mark, close enough that the signal lag was negligible. I did not know what Sevet Oren was expecting when her console chimed an incoming hail. I know what she was not expecting, because she told me afterward she had not been expecting anyone at all. The shutdown broadcast was a formality. Nobody answered formalities. What she said, when my face appeared on her screen, was, "This frequency is reserved for Taven Compact Logistics Relay." It's also registered as Earth Mutual Aid Channel 11, I said. Treaty Appendix, pre-expansion. We picked up your broadcast. There was a pause on her end. She was humanoid, most Taven were, with the wide-set orbital structure and the pale violet skin tone of the outer station bloodlines. She was wearing a work coverall with the Compact's archivist insignia on the shoulder, and behind her I could see the station interior, aging Condor housings, a row of decommissioned monitoring consoles dark along one wall, the low amber emergency lighting that meant the main power grid was already cycling down. You are not Taven Compact, she said. This was not a question. No. We are ISC Patrol Frigate * Ardent Margin Star. We are 40 minutes out. Another pause. Longer. I did not direct this broadcast at Earth, she said. She said it carefully, the way you say something you need confirmed, not the way you say something you want argued with. No, I agreed. You didn't. The side lobe bleed put it on our band. We monitor Channel 11. I watched her face while I said it, because what I needed to know was whether she was going to spend the next 40 minutes explaining to me why we shouldn't be here, or whether she was going to let me help. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she said, "The self-destruct authorization was transmitted from Compact Logistics Central 6 hours ago. The sequence is running. I am the biological witness. I cannot halt the sequence without a counter-authorization from Compact Command, and the nearest command relay is," she glanced at something off-screen, 2 hours 17 minutes at best signal speed. The destruct window closes in 3 hours 40. You have time, I said. My Empire's nearest fleet element is 9 hours out. I have time only in the way that a person standing in a burning building has time if they choose not to move. She was very calm when she said it. The Taven archivists were trained for documentation above all else, recording facts, stating them plainly, filing them accurately. She was stating a fact. "We'll be there in 36 minutes, I said. "What do you need?" What she needed was a physical hard interrupt on the destruct sequence's primary coupling. The *ardent margin * carried engineering tools. The interrupt procedure itself was standard ISC salvage protocol. The problem was that the sequencer was located in Orveth Kane's lower maintenance core, which had already been sealed as part of the decommission checklist, and the internal access route ran through 2 sections of station that were venting atmosphere. I know all of this because Sevet Oren walked me through it while we were still on approach, in the same methodical voice she would have used to catalogue a records archive. She was not panicking. She was documenting. I found, watching her, that I was doing the same, running the calculations, noting the variables, treating it as a problem with a solution rather than a crisis with a clock. It was something we had in common, though neither of us remarked on it at the time. We docked hard at the Orveth Kane secondary port at 34 minutes. I had already suited up. Ostrek met me at the airlock with the engineering kit and a look I recognized. "I know," I said. "Bila." Again. "We have 2 hours and 50 minutes. The procedure takes 40. I'll be back aboard in an hour." He handed me the kit. "The atmosphere routing in Section 4 is going to be a problem," he said. "I'll go around." "Section 5 is worse." "Then I'll be creative," I said, and stepped through the lock. The interior of Orveth Kane was everything the broadcast had suggested: old, carefully maintained, and in the process of being unmade by the people who built it. The Taven Compact was thorough in its decommissions. Every piece of equipment that was going down had been tagged, logged, and listed in the record. Sevet Oren had been the one doing the listing. Walking through the station corridors was like walking through a completed catalogue. She met me at the junction above Section 3, having found a route through the internal maintenance ducts that bypassed both the venting sections. She had a portable lighting unit in one hand and the station's engineering schematic on a handheld display in the other. "This way," she said. She did not ask me why I had come. She did not ask again why we had been monitoring her frequency. I think she was doing with that question what she did with all facts that needed confirmation: filing it, setting it in order, waiting until she had time to examine it properly. We reached the maintenance core in 22 minutes. The hard interrupt procedure was 40 minutes, as I'd told Ostrek. Sevet Oren held the light, handed me the tools in sequence as I called for them, and read the schematic aloud at each stage with the same even cadence she'd used throughout. At the 38-minute mark, I seeded the last coupling, and the sequence's countdown indicator went dark. The silence in the maintenance core was very complete. After a moment, Sevet Oren said, "The self-destruct sequence has been interrupted." She said it in the documentation voice. Then, after another moment, in a different voice, "Thank you." I was still looking at the coupling housing. "The station is still decommissioned," I said. "We stopped the destruct, not the order." "Yes," she said. "I know. The station will be towed to the compact salvage depot by the fleet element when it arrives." She was quiet for a second. "I will be aboard a human frigate before that." "Yes," I said. She thought about that. Then she said, quietly, "I did not know Channel 11 was still monitored." "Most people don't," I said. "It's in the treaty appendix." "Your people read treaty appendices." I collected my tools and stood up. The emergency lighting cast everything in amber. The station was quiet around us, all its systems cycling toward rest, its record complete. "Someone does," I said. We were 2 hours out from Orveth Kane when I filed the incident report. I wrote it the way I wrote all my reports, factually, in sequence, without editorializing. What the signal was, what frequency it came in on, why we monitored it, what we did. At the end, I noted that the Taven Compact's logistics systems apparently had no record that their pre-expansion infrastructure shared a side lobe with Earth's mutual aid band, and that this information might be worth flagging to the relevant treaty officers. Ostrek read it over my shoulder, which he sometimes did. "Close enough is the technical term for what we did," he said, when he was done. "It's in the report," I said. He went back to the helm. Sevet Oren was in the officer's mess, drinking something hot that our cook had given her without being asked, writing her own documentation of the station's final status on a handheld she'd carried off Orveth Kane in her kit. She was a thorough person. She would not leave a record incomplete. I turned back to my console. Channel 11 was quiet again, the way it had been quiet for 300 years, the way most people assumed it would stay. The treaty appendix sat in the archive where it had always sat today. The side lobe connection between two civilizations' infrastructure was still there, exactly where it had always been. We had just not known, until today, what it would pick up. I logged the signal received, the response taken, and the outcome. Then I filed it, and moved on to the next item in the queue. Some things are worth monitoring. That was all the report said. That was all it needed to say.